Hello and welcome to Open the Gates to More Listings meets The Complete Agent with me, Simon Gates, James Kendall from James Kendall & Co, Dave Wolverton from Burton James and Ian Story from Stories. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about how to get properties sold. And I couldn't think of three better agents to talk through it as they are selling about 80% of what they list. So we're going to talk through today from start to finish how you get there. So first of all, 80% versus a UK average currently of 55%. So you guys, statistically, between the three of you, are 41% more likely to get a property sold.
Is that SSTC, is it?
No, exchange. Actually done, so 80%.
Nice.
And you're also obviously operating more in the mid to higher end, where statistically it's a little bit more tougher to sell. So actually, it's not doing justice enough to the figures that you are delivering. So let's break that down. What does it look like from start to finish? So we've had the phone call to book in the valuation. You're going out there and doing the val. How are you having that conversation with a seller to get properties on at the right price? What does it look like?
Well, I came up with the structure. No, go on, Dave. This is your moment, Dave. Have your flowers.
This is your moment.
No.
Well, I think what JK is referring to is that all of our valuations are data-led. So, I mean, it's something I've been doing for a very, very long time anyway. Like yourself, I like my numbers and stats. And really, it's about demonstrating to the client that we are not there to value their home. And I actually open with that line every single time when I value a house.
Yeah. What do you say?
I always say, I'm not here to value your home.
Yeah.
I know that sounds like a silly thing to say because I'm a valuer that you've invited out from an estate agent, but ultimately, the house is only worth what someone's prepared to pay for it. And at that point, they always nod without exception. They always nod to say, yeah, get it. It's only worth what someone's prepared to pay. So what we're going to do today is look at some market data. I prefer stats and facts, price per square foot. I'm going to talk to you about what the market's been doing, but more importantly, what it's doing right now, because we can only work to the market that we're in, not what we were once in. We'll look at where we think the house price sits, and then we'll try and build from there. You don't always have to agree with the valuation. It's like, again, sometimes if you give a value on a home, it might be, look, all the data is telling me that it's worth 1.5 million. In your head, you think it's worth 1.65 million, 1.75 million. And I always say that is the subjective part of any valuation, because ultimately it is worth what someone's prepared to pay, and particularly at the higher end of the market, if someone values something more than the next person, they will literally pay for it. And I always use acreage as a great example. So like me personally, I don't need lots and lots of land. And actually, if I'm looking at a house that's got an 8-acre field with it, to me, that is an 8-acre headache. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But if the next person walks in who's got 3 horses and there's 3 stables on the grounds and they see all that land, they're going to go, oh my God, it's absolutely perfect. I'm only interested in the house, not the field. So they subjectively are more likely to pay a bit more than that. So it's very much a case of what that person is prepared to pay. It's not what I think it's worth, with due respect to the owners. It's not what you think it's worth. It's what the market dictates. So what we'll look at is where we think it sits based on all the data that's available today. And we'll then talk about how we're going to go and get it. But you could invite 10 estate agents out and we'll have 10 different opinions. But the only person that matters is the buyer. So we need to get it in and around where we think it sits and then come up with a strategy to get that number. So from the outset, we are building in a data value, nothing to do with my opinion, nothing to do with their opinion. And the quicker that you can get it away from your opinion, the easier the whole appointment becomes. Because I think we've probably all had it. I mean, you can all resonate, I'm sure. I wouldn't say you go full on argue with the owner, but if they don't agree with your price and you get it wrong in their eyes, and you've just given an opinion based on a best price guide or something like that, they switch off straight away. And there's so many occasions actually where they don't agree with it. Even now, like we'll go in and I'll say, right, well, price per square foot in your area is £350. We think your house sits at around, by the way, that's another way out. So like if the house hasn't been formally measured. So we might say, right, so it's £300 a square foot here in this area. We think your floor plan is around 4,000 square feet, which on paper might suggest 1.2 million. But it might be 4,500 square feet, it might be 5,000 square feet. We'll know more once we've formally measured it, but it's a really good barometer of where we think things are sitting right now. It's not a simple case of saying, right, this is a 5,000 square foot house, and that 5,000 square foot house over there sold for that, so we'll put yours on at the same. because they might have completely different finishes. Everything is very, very subjective. You know, if it's an incredible finish, then someone might pay a premium for that. If it needs a lot of work, we might look at it and go, well, on paper, this house could be 1.5 million, but we've got to be honest and say, you need 5 new bathrooms in this house. It's probably going to need a new kitchen. There's lots of decoration that comes at a cost. So again, to me, who's got to get builders in, it's going to cost me probably in the region of £200,000 to £250,000 to do something like that. To a builder, it'll cost half that. Subjectively, he might pay more. And if you give these examples from the start, you're taking it away from valuation. It's not your responsibility. And you can quickly get it onto, this is how we're going to get it sold. So let's park that almost, and let's talk about how we're going to get the best price for you.
So a couple of things on that. If you go out there and kind of just talk about my valuation, or all they're going to compare is valuations from agents, right? So they're going to shop with whoever told them the highest value.
Yeah.
So it's not you valuing it. Here's the data and what the market suggests, and this is the strategy of how we're going to get there.
Yeah.
And then in terms of the data as well, you made me think of a saying actually, which I read the other day. The past is a place of reference, not residence. So just because a house 6 months ago got that price, that's a reference. It doesn't mean that you're definitely going to get that, because like you said, the market will fluctuate.
The other thing as well is, like I say, you can look at historical data. I mean, we've touched on this in another podcast, but if we're looking at land registry data, it's usually out of date. So you're 3 months out of date at least, and then that might be reflective of offers that were made 6 to 9 months previous. So what a lot of mistake right now, so what is it? It's March 2026. So
it's just gone and dated the podcast.
Merry Christmas,
now.
guys.
Oh, sorry.
No, Jay.
So it's March 2026, and what we're looking at now are, in a lot of areas, certainly where I am anyway, it might differ around the country, but where I am, if you look at the average price of a home now, in most of the areas I cover, it's like a bit of a roller coaster on a graph. But if you trace it all the way back to peak COVID, it's very similar. They're not too dissimilar.
It's gone up and come back, hasn't it, generally?
So some of them have gone up and come back.
Yeah.
It's very similar. The difference now is the cost of acquisition's changed. So if we look at 2021 market, you had 0.1% base rates of interest, there was no stamp duty to pay, there were loads of buyers and not enough houses to satisfy demand. And what you've got to try and get across, because most weak agents will just go in and go, well, it looks the same as it was then, let's put it on like that. Yeah. But what they're not considering is that people could borrow lots and lots of money and pay fuck all for it.
That's a technical term as well.
Yes.
Clip that.
And if you fast forward 5 years, well, the cost of acquisition has changed massively, because we've now got still very, very low interest rates, historically speaking, at 3.75% base rate. But stamp duty's back. There are fewer buyers in the market, and the stock levels are at an 11-year high. So everything is the complete opposite. So whilst your house on paper looks the same, the cost of actually buying it has changed. So we're now in a different market altogether. And again, certainly where I am at the moment, what a lot of homeowners don't know and doesn't get demonstrated to them is that the market's dropping a little bit. And as long as, if that keeps going, and we don't know until you've sort of tested the water with the property anyway, you could lose equity by just waiting and sitting at a stupid price that was never achievable. So don't listen to the person that comes in and says 1.5 million when actually it's probably 1.25 on paper and there's no substance to it. It's all about, really, the data. It's as simple as that.
And that data, so for any agents listening or watching this right now, when you talk about pounds per square foot or you talk about that roller coaster graph, where do you guys go to get that data?
So we use Dataloft. Dataloft's been great. And there's lots of stuff on there. There's quite a lot of distractions on it as well. No disrespect to the Dataloft guys. You are great. But there's lots of stuff on it. Lots and lots of stuff that you can use that's really, really useful. But the main stuff is the actual average sales prices, the price per square foot, volume of transactions. That's what you're looking at. And then you're also looking at actual data, addresses of how homes that are sold in maybe the last 12 months, that kind of thing. But my valuations, I will go all the way back to 2020, even now.
Yeah.
Because that was a major period in time that people still think exists. They still think that prices are there.
There's a recency bias to it.
Yeah. You know, and you've got to demonstrate that isn't perhaps the case anymore. The market's better than it was now. Like we know now, for the first 3 months, it's been a great start because we had the budget at the end of 2025. You know, how are you articulating that, by the way? There's a whole host of things. You know, end of 2025, we had a stagnated market because there was so much unknown build up to the budget, and there was rumoured interest rate drops. The budget came and went without any real impact on the market at all. We then had the interest rate drop, and everybody could see where it was going in January. It was always going to be a fast start, and that's what played out. We've now got other economical factors that probably will have a big part to play this year. So people will be revising the forecasts. And it comes back to when we're talking about direct mail. You've got to keep educating your client. But it starts in the living room by getting away from the fact that you are not there to value that person's asset. You're there to advise them. You're there to advise them and tell them what the market's doing.
Yeah, you're there to give them a plan to understand what the value is.
100%.
Aren't you?
I'm here to give you all the information so that you can make an informed decision on your home today.
And you might not be able to find out what the value is
until you try.
At the moment.
Well, Dave, I can't remember if I said this in one of the previous appearances I made more recently in your podcast, but you saying something along the lines of, there are properties I've sold for more money than I thought they'd achieve, and there's properties that sold for less money.
Absolutely.
We can't predict exactly what it's going to get, but I have the process that is going to find you whatever the best prices that the market will deliver.
And it's making sure that they understand that from the outset before they sign up, or at the point that they're signing up with you, that they understand that we don't know what it is exactly, you don't know what it is. No one does until it's gone through this process that I'm outlining here. It might be less, it might be more, but whatever it is, it will be the most we can possibly get for it.
Yeah.
And they need to understand that, because further down the line, if it does need a price adjustment and it was delivered wrong at the start, then they're going to pin everything on that you said it was worth this.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you do.
Again, back to what Dave said on your point in, you said, but the way you guys do things, it was never you said, because you said, well, the evidence points towards.
Yes, exactly.
And then we said it before, we control three things: the quality of the marketing, the exposure it receives, and then the communication. So that's all we can do. Now,
and it's important that you say that to your client regularly throughout the marketing process.
100%.
That you drill that into them.
We all want a
3Ps,
great market.
4Ps, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Gets drilled into them all the time, all the way through until it sells.
I always say to people as well, especially when I'm valuing in the town where I live or somewhere very local, I'll say, I want a really healthy market. I live in the same postcode as you, but I can only tell you what's happening so that you can make this informed decision. Yeah. There's no point in coming in and telling you what you want to hear, because it's not the truth. Yeah. So, and what
that's why 48% more agents than us reduce properties.
What you'll tend to find is, as well, people tell them what they think they want to hear when actually they just want to hear the truth.
Yeah.
Again, a very simple line. I keep banging on about it. Dave, you're the seller, I'm the agent. Dave, what would you rather I do today? Tell you what you want to hear, which will help me win your business, and I'll walk away happy, or tell you what you need to hear will actually get you moved.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd rather hurt you with the truth than comfort you with a lie. I said that.
Tom Panos said that.
Big Tom again.
James Panos.
But yeah, that's the beauty of setting it up that way, is that you can quickly get onto the quality of the marketing and the benefits of your marketing and all about your pitch.
So let's segue into that then. So you talked about kind of data-led valuation, how important that is as to why you actually get the property sold. Now, so many agents out there just will turn up with a phone, take pictures. I can't help but think they're saying speed to market doesn't equal speed to sale, right? Yeah. If I said to you today, guys, love what you said, I want to get it on the market, there's other agents who will have it on by the end of today, but you're going to go, whoa, slow down, Simon.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to do this, this, and this. So, right, data-led valuation, I now want to use you. What does that look like for you guys?
Well, what's the definition of having it on the market? That's another question.
Great point.
Is that, the definition of having it on the market for a lot of agents means it's on Rightmove by the end of the day. Whereas the process that, certainly the three of us follow is that, as soon as the contract's signed, it's on the market. And that might look like privately available. It might look like pre-market. It's those, we're actively trying to get a result before we've even put it online and exposed it, if that makes sense.
I think of that LinkedIn post you did was it I don't know if it was a brand new build or a conversion, you'd use a bit of AI to give it a sneak peek kind of look.
Yeah.
And twilight and stuff. Yeah. So again, you're whetting people's appetite.
That was on with another agent for ages and had absolutely nothing. And their complaint was the agent was like, it's the market stuff, but also, it's not finished and, people can't see what it looked like. Mate, we're in 2026 now. Yeah. Use AI. Not that difficult. Literally all you have to do, even if you are not an AI expert, is take what you have got, tell it what you want it to look like, and then, as long as it largely resembles what's there, your quid's in. Yeah. And you can then send that out to people and give them the vision, because people can't see that. I do get the I do get the feedback, but be better. I get it. If it were 20 years ago, then there isn't really an argument for that. It is what it is. But being able to create something that people can see in CGI in a matter of minutes as well, by the way, where, if you get good at prompting and figuring out how these systems work, you can create something that is very, very close to what is actually going to sit there, and the proof's in the pudding. It's sold. It's
also taking things out. It's the same about what you'd maybe include there, like putting in Twilight, but how many listings do you see where there's a car parked in it, or there's bins outside, or what did we say in the previous episode? Frost on the ground.
And just being lazy about changing.
And it is being lazy there. And again, going back to, I think, a previous episode of the marketing's going to be so good, the owner will go, well, it has to be the price.
Yeah.
But so many agents are lazily going, price is the issue, price is the issue.
Yeah.
Well, why is it you guys are selling properties that failed to sell with other agents at more money?
Yeah. Just on that pricing as well, where the pre-launch and pre-market strategies come in really well, is it allows you to test that price.
100%.
As well.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to try and steal this, and I steal a lot of other phrases, but Dave has a phrase that I use a lot and coin it as my own. You might be surprised to hear. But when you're pitching that to the sellers once the contract's signed, about getting viewings before it goes onto the market, tell them the story of previous successes you've had where it has to be a show-stopping offer to get it to market. And we've had before where people have offered $250,000, $500,000, maybe not always to that extreme, 100 grand more than the price it's up to lock out and secure their forever house.
Yeah.
But also on the flip side of that, it also allows you to test the price. So if you can bring 3, 4, 5 buyers round off market that are in the market with the pound notes in their pocket to buy that sort of house, and the feedback you get from those 5 buyers is that it's not big enough, or the price is too high, or whatever it may be, basically the price is too high, you can feed that back to your client, and before it hits the internet, you can have a conversation about maybe if the price needs to be adjusted.
Have you heard a guy called Steve Beercock talk about the shower test? He's an estate agent up in the Hull area. Have you heard this? When you get in the shower, do you just jump straight into it, or do you put your hand in and just check it's the right temperature? It's like, why do people go put the house on the market, jumping straight into the shower? Yeah. Put your hand under, make sure it's the right temperature. Oh, it's a bit cold. Okay, we're going to put it on at a lower price. God, it's boiling hot here. We've got loads of interest. Yeah. Maybe we can go to Rightmove at a higher price.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the thing is as well, obviously the marketing's got to be right. So imagine that you have that great data. Again, it comes back to how you look and how you present. But if you have that amazing conversation about data, take all the conversation away from you valuing the home, and the market dictation is what will ultimately get you to the right kind of number. And then you've got crap marketing. They'll always come back to that then and say, well, your marketing's not very good. So you've got to make sure that the marketing's absolutely amazing and spot on. Mm-hmm. But then, you touched on it before, rush it to Rightmove. It's one of the worst strategies you can take, because you could waste that first. You always bang on about, what is it, first 2 to 4 weeks of Rightmove is the most important. Yeah. Why waste that? Yeah. So now that we've got things like social media and agent collaboration, and you've got your buyer email database, all that sort of stuff. There's even other portals that you can soft launch onto if you have them, that sort of stuff. There's so much more you can be doing to get a decent gauge of where the price sits. And we had one recently. I told the mastermind the other day, I think we've got a house that's that wants to come on at 750,000. We've done a good pre-launch campaign on it, and we're now ready to go live. And what we do, we have an internal process where whenever we get an inquiry on the house, whatever it is, so you know what it's like, you'll put a house on social media and somebody will just message you and say, hi mate, how much is that one? And they've probably got no intention of buying it, but they'll still make an inquiry. So we'll say, hi, it's, or they'll ask for more details. So you get 6 beds, 4 bathrooms, about 2,500 square feet. It's going to be hitting the market at 750. Is it one of interest? And they might not answer, or they'll respond and go, oh, it's a bit over budget. And you'll say, all right, okay, what did you think it was worth? And they might say, oh, I thought it's 650 to 700. We record that on the client's file every single time. Doesn't matter. So when that 2-week period is up, which is usually about our pre-launch window, we then go back to the client. Sometimes, and on this particular occasion it's true, we said, Howard, I'm trying to remember his name then.
Not John.
It's not John. It's Howard. So Howard, we were going to hit the market at 750. We can still do that, but I just need you to know we've had 14 inquiries in the last 2 weeks. Not one person has hit the 750 valuation. Obviously, there's always going to be messes and people who are not serious, etc. And we've not gone to Rightmove yet, but I don't want to waste this opportunity. There's a better price point here, and I think we should probably try and launch it at offers over 7 instead of 750. So when it does hit the market at 700, we know that we've already got rid of that first couple of weeks where we're perhaps wasting it. So the pre-launch strategy is also incredibly important in basically raising awareness about price. Obviously getting the house out there and getting more eyeballs on it, of course, and we can talk through pre-launch strategy. But look, 99 times out of 100, it's price, isn't it? We know it's price. If you're doing all the right thing with marketing and exposure, it's going to come down to price. And by doing it this way, in a strategic way, with data, pre-launch strategies, quality of marketing, regular communication, your vendor will buy into that. They know they're with the right person. They know that you're not just trying to bullshit them to sell the house quickly for whatever reason. You're trying everything that you possibly can. And it's the market dictation. It's not your opinion, and you've not got it wrong.
Yeah, love that. I think in terms of testing the market fully before you have that like digital stamp on Rightmove of this is the date it listed, just looking back at the figures again, when you do change your price, which is 24% of the time, UK average is just over 43%. So the average agent nationally is price reducing 81% more often than you guys.
Wow.
But that's because they're going, get it on the market, oh my God, we need to get it on by the end of the day.
Yeah.
Oh shit, after a week it's too much money, and then they're reducing it.
Yeah.
Whereas you guys are going, right, this is a strategy, we're going to test the market fully, and then we can go, right, maybe we've been a bit too high there. Mm-hmm. So when it goes on at 7 rather than 750, that wasn't a price reduction. It was never worth that.
Yeah.
No. But it is also managing clients' expectations, because sometimes, you say that, but sometimes we've gone on at prices where the data suggests, for example, it could be worth 800.
Yeah.
And it ends up selling for 750. And it's just the market. You've got the benefit of experience because of that data lag. But however, the attrition rate for all of our businesses is pretty low.
Yeah, that's the point, isn't it?
Because you're keeping them up to date.
Yes. So sometimes things go on for too much money. As the data shows, we don't always get it right. But your ability to keep the client happy and therefore not leave you is what gives us the results that we get and the percentage of sales that we get.
And you're quick to react. Whereas I think the other agent is purposefully overvaluing to buy the business, mm-hmm. whereas you guys are winning the business. There's a big difference between that. And then clear strategy is reduce. If it's that 24% of the time, okay, we're going to adjust the price, but you're doing it quicker probably than others, mm-hmm. and you're probably doing it by a larger percentage as well to make a bigger difference.
It's got to be worthwhile, right?
Yeah, and I think it sounds brutal, but it kills only according to Rightmove of the properties that do change price that go on to sell. A 5 to 7% change is the key point, but most agents do 3 to 4%.
The reason it's got to be 5% as well is because the actual science behind it is affordability. Because if somebody's got 1.25, the chances are they've got 1.3. But that extra 5, people generally, when they're buying places or valuing places in their mind, generally it's actual what they can afford. The 5% plus chunk is the difference between them buying that house and them not buying it.
Are you saying say, I don't know about you guys, but if you go get a car, if you said to me now, what's the interest rate on the loan on your car, I wouldn't have a fucking clue.
No.
But I know how much my budget was a month to pay it.
Exactly.
And are people looking at 1.25? Are they going 1.3? Are they going, well, that's an extra couple hundred quid on my mortgage? I mean, I'm quite happy paying an extra couple hundred quid a month.
Exactly. Whereas, it could then be £400 on their mortgage and they go, do you know what, that's a bit tight.
I just wouldn't do it for that. I'd rather live a bit further out and spend that 400 quid on train to whatever it might be.
Yeah. Plus, it's a small price reduction. The price is still far too close to what it was anyway. So it's kind of the same sort of price.
Yeah.
So you need to make something significant. I always say to people, if we're going to make a price change, we're going to make one only ever. So let's not make a price change yet. Let's do more social around it. Let's try and get more buyers in, cross-match. Let's do everything we possibly can before we think about a price change. And if we do have to do it, it needs to be significant.
And try and get it on a price point, because you get 16% more views on a price point. That's data that I like to put out there quite often.
Such a thief. I think...
I stole it from Rightmove, so it's fine. It's third hand.
I think the other thing as well is, you don't have to take every listing. You know, people think that just because you've been invited out to value a house, that you've got to...
Yeah.
You've got
We're
to
not public service.
Yeah, exactly. So it also comes with assessing motivation. You know, we've all got overpriced stock on our books. You know, I've taken overpriced stock knowing it's overpriced and it's not going to sell. But the homeowner needs to go through that process. Now, if that homeowner tells me that they want £900,000 for an £825,000 house, but they have already got their new home is already going through, it's going to exchange in the next 3 months, and at that point they're going to move into it, and then they're going to be sat with an empty asset, and they're going to move at some point in the future, and it's a 2% fee. I'm not walking away from that. I'm willing to accept that this house is going to reduce. So again, it's about how do we manage that situation. That is your price. I've demonstrated today that the market dictates 800 to 850. Could it sell for 900 if we get the right person through the door? Yeah, of course it could, because we're at a level where there's high liquidity, high deposits, you get people who are in good jobs buying these things. Yeah, of course there is, John. But the market dictation is 800 to 850. So if we get to that 3-month stage when your new home's exchanged, then I think we need to be having a serious conversation about reducing. But what I can guarantee you today is that your marketing is going to be exceptional. It's going to be like everything I've shown you today. Your house is going to look amazing. It's going to be on Rightmove. It's going to be exposed across social media. We collaborate with agents across the country. We've got a buyer network that we're going to match it to. We're going to communicate every week, and I'll keep you up to date with the market. If it is not selling, it's not the marketing, it's the market dictation. So we need to just have that conversation. So again, you're just setting the scene and setting the tone. And another conversation I like to have with homeowners is, you know, what do we need? What sells a house? Traffic. So how do we get people through the door? Let's take everything away. What do we need? We need people through the door. So how are we going to achieve that? Well, I've shown you all the amazing marketing that's going to make your house look good. But where do people shop for houses? You know, 25 years ago, you'd get dressed up and you'd go into Bolton Town Centre.
Put your Lyle Scott on.
Yeah, you put your Lyle Scott on. And
Other brands are available.
You'd go into town and you'd go and shop in every estate agent's window, and you might wait quite a while. If you've got a house on the market, you might wait because it might be the next weekend that somebody sees your house in the window, or it might be the weekend after, or whatever. They'd wait for the newspaper to come out once a week. Again, giving that analogy is great, because then you say, but it's all changed now. It's changed. So if someone's proactively looking for a house, where do they start? Well, they start on Rightmove. So we need to play to Rightmove's strengths. So you're telling me that the other agents told you it's worth £950,000 and we should market at that. Well, there's no filter for that at 900 and 950. So actually the best filter is £900,000 offers in excess of. So I don't disagree, maybe, but you'll get everybody looking up to 900 and from 900, John, but won't they offer me less? Yes, they will, John. They will offer you less.
They might.
They will probably offer you less. That's okay. It's just how it's managed.
I always try to educate people to try and make them see that by going up the price point is the right thing to do, because it might be worth less than the price point.
Yeah.
So if a house is going on at 925, for example, you're not seen by anyone searching up to 900. The house might be worth less than 900. You're right. Your ideal buyer might never ever see the property at all because it's on at 95. So they're going on offers of 900. Mr. Smith, you're going to be seen by everyone that needs to see it. And that might be your right buyer at 890, 880, 870. And if the house is worth over 9, if it's worth up to 950, then you'll look cheap and you'll get loads of competition. And that'll drive a higher price.
There's a flip side to it. What if somebody's got a maximum budget of 9 and it's on at 950, and or maybe even a maximum budget of 870 or whatever, their AIP, and they're only looking up to 9 and it's on at 950. But then they see it at 900, fall in love with it, and they go and speak to mum and dad.
I was literally just thinking that.
Yeah.
How many times over the years have we heard someone say, I found a bit of money down the back of the sofa?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they've walked through the door, the kids have chosen their bedrooms, they're like, shit, the grandparents are down the road, babysitter's on tap, it's close to my work. Actually, I'll sacrifice an extra few quid a month on a mortgage.
Absolutely. And again, articulating what that might look like on a mortgage. Are you really going to leave your dream home, lose your dream home for an extra £200 a month? Is that what you're saying to me? You know, that kind of thing. Again, getting into the emotional connection to the home. But again, another one I like to talk to people about is, you know, let's just say the house is worth $1 million. We think it's worth in and around $1 million. And, you know, if you say to the homeowner, what would happen if I listed this house tomorrow at £800,000? And they'll always obviously say, well, I have lots of people wanting it, won't I? Yeah. So what would happen if I put it on at £1.2 million? Well, no one would come, Dave. I said, yeah, exactly. So we need to find a happy medium. Millions are probably a bad example because of the million price point. But I said it was 950. And we're saying 800 and 1.1. I said, right, we want people through the door. We've got to play to Rightmove's strengths. If there was a filter for that, we'd use it. But what we need is people through the door. And do you know what? It's really hard to undersell a house unless you're a really crap agent. And that's what you've got to demonstrate. You know, if somebody weak, an order taker, is handling your sale, your biggest tax-free asset, then yeah, it's probably not the best strategy to do this. But, you know, I've been doing this for 20 years. I've demonstrated here, and here how it works brilliantly well. You don't have to accept whatever someone offers you. You can turn it down. You know, what are we waiting for here? Do we want to sell it or do we want to list it?
A couple of examples on this, which are going to relate to football, so apologies, Ian. But
that's
in
11
terms
to
of
11.
if I think I would have shared it with you before, but at a charity lunch last season when Liverpool were on the league and we're still all right, and they said everyone stand up, and then they got the signed Virgil van Dijk shirt, which is on my wall in my office, and they said stay standing if you pay £100 for it, stay standing 200, 300. So they started here, just kept going up and up and up, and as it got more expensive, some people sat down. But at the start, you're like, there's a lot of people in here wanting this shirt. Now, if they'd started by going, right, who will pay £1,000 for this shirt? Everyone would go, fucking hell, I'm not doing that. But it started at, stay standard at £100. Now, what they've done before at these types of things is I've been in a room where they're bidding and it will get to 500 and the EMC, if that's what they're called, would say, look, there's a reserve on this, and if it's not matched, we're not selling it today. And there's a guy at the side of the stage and he's going, can we sell it for 500? And he's going like that. No, sorry, I haven't met the reserve. And it literally goes off the stage and they put it in the back of the van. So it's that point of a house. If you don't achieve the price you want to, we just say, no, you're in control, not the buyer.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And it's so important. It's selling houses about getting the seller to buy into the strategy. Yeah. Because another thing I always say, and I say it to sellers, said, with all due respect, John, you don't know what you'll take until it's real.
I do too, yeah.
And we're all the same.
I like your line of, let's say they want to take 850 and it's on at 9.
Yeah.
And you talk through how you arrive at that, where it's like, would you take this? Would you take this? Would you take this?
Yeah. So basically, I would say, so you're on at 900. So you want. No, hang on. What was it?
Let's say it's on at 900, but they've said 850.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I would say, okay. Well, you're saying that if I had a cash buyer tomorrow at 790,000, are you taking it? No. Are you taking 800? No. Are you taking 810? No. Are you taking 820? I might at a push.
What the fuck are we doing on at 900?
Yeah, right. So why are we wasting time? What about offers over 800? Because I've got a better chance of getting you to 825 from offers over 8 than I do from 900. And actually, from offers over 8, I've got a great chance of getting you up to 850 if we can create competition amongst buyers. So yeah, it's just basically giving them that psychology, and getting into their psychology rather, and thinking about it, and getting them to think differently, asking better questions. Because when it's real, they'll just have a completely different mindset.
Do you think we should go down just talk about the agent collaboration bit as well? Because that's much more relevant at the upper end of the market. And then when we talked in a previous podcast about fees, and they're quite often, well, not quite often, like I would say sometimes maybe 1 or 2 out of 10 transactions, you can get a buyer introduced by another agent and you're going to have to give away part of your fee. And the way I demonstrate it to my clients is that, whilst we're quoting 2% and it'd be nice to have the whole fee, the reason we do that is because we can, again, you talked earlier about marketing spend and marketing budget. We've got the ability to work with other agents. So we're not just closing the door. It's not just us.
Yeah.
You've got access to every agent in the country, and we're able to give them a piece of the pie. But you still have my negotiating power, my marketing, etc. And that's what you've employed me to do. But also it allows me to open and also to kind of articulate what that looks like. Now we're part of various different sort of informal off-market groups that are run, and you can put it out there into the universe that if you're charging, let's say 2%, you can offer a 50-50 split with somebody off-market possibly. If it's on market, you might offer somebody I don't know, if you've got let's say a 35, 40 grand fee, you might offer somebody a 10k intro. And it's work. I mean, you've probably seen it yourself, and you guys. I mean, I know that a house I sold at over 3 million, I had to give away part of my fee for a buyer that was introduced. Arguably, could they have come and seen it online and got in touch? Maybe, but they didn't. But again, to that client, at the end of the day, from the outside world sees I sold it.
Of course.
And I did.
I mean,
you've also retained that listing. So if you weren't open to collaboration, you're going to lose the whole thing.
That's
it's better to have a bit of the pie than none of it.
Yeah.
And I think that helps you retain the listing, because you're all going to get agents sending shit letters through your sellers' doors saying, I have buyers waiting for properties like yours, and sellers naively can go, well, they told me they got a buyer. Really? Well, I've put it out to the whole wide world that I offer an intro fee. They don't need to spend any money on any form of marketing. All they need to do is pass me the buyer, and I'll do all of the work, and I'll give them 10 grand for the privilege.
Yeah.
So if they want to have a chat with me, and then funnily enough,
they don't, do they? It's funny,
sending those letters are not the collaborative ones.
They're not.
If you phoned them and said, hey, I've got a buyer for one of your listings, they're going to be charging 1% at best, so they don't have a high enough fee to be able to give any of that away.
No, exactly that. And the client's investing in your skill. It's not just about investing in what you can put on Rightmove. It's invested in your skill. So, they want to know that when that buyer comes through the door, regardless of which medium it's from, if it's via another agent, they're invested in your negotiation skill to make sure you get them the best possible price. Yeah. And, just talking about that particular example, we achieved the price there. I mean, it's incredible, really, when you look at what other valuations had come in at. But again, they're raving fans for the future now.
Mm-hmm. That's the point, yeah.
They'll go and they'll talk about that with their friends. And, proximity's power, isn't it? That's Tony Robbins. Cheers, Tony. Being around the right sort of people. Do you like the way I looked into the camera there? There's another white teeth moment.
All these people could be logging in, watching this tonight.
Yeah. I was going to try to do a Tony Robbins impression there, but I thought, you know what?
No, please
You'd
don't.
probably be able to do one, because he's quite low, isn't he?
I've never don't know what it sounds like.
Doesn't matter. We'll move on.
Yeah, he sounds like you.
He sounds like the American version of someone from Blackpool.
Okay.
He does, yeah. Yeah.
How does that go?
Say proximity is power.
Proximity is power.
There you go.
That
See?
sounds like Tony
You
Robbins.
don't have to put a voice.
You don't have to do your voice. You are you.
Yeah.
I try and be more Tyson.
Yeah. Tyson Fury. Has anyone seen you and Tyson Fury in the room at the same time?
Well, he did view a house I was selling, but I wasn't.
You could actually do voiceovers for him.
For Tyson.
Yeah.
Maybe that's another sideline.
Anyway, selling houses.
Yeah, back to selling houses. But yeah, that's how agent collaboration can work. And like you say, you protect your listings for a start. But also, it's about getting your client the best possible price and opening every single avenue.
I mean, all this is going out to agents, so it's all about getting the seller to buy into it.
Yeah.
And understand, we know that the price dictates 99 times out of 100. So they need to understand that you are doing everything you possibly can.
Yeah. Because you are,
obviously. Yeah. But they need to know that you're on a journey together. It's you and them against the market. It's not me versus my clients.
No. And a lot of time it is that.
It is,
yeah. Us against the market. Me and my client versus the market.
Yeah.
You like that one?
I really like that one, yeah.
That's good.
That's mine.
Thank you.
So they need to know that, and they've got to know that you've got a plan and a strategy. So again, this is something else we've not really spoken about. We have a strategy that we have on every listing that the client knows about. So if you're going into there with a plan, they know they're in the right hands. And again, what are the potential pitfalls that we're going to come across? Well, for a start, you're not going to get 10 viewings a week like this is a 3-bed semi. It's a £1.5 million house. You're going to probably get dribs and drabs. You might go a few weeks without a viewing, that kind of thing. We need to monitor the data. We need to monitor the market. We need to have regular updates so that you know what's happening. And unfortunately, if it's not going to be happening, you know how good the marketing is. We might have to look at the price at some point. But the price is there to get you to the valuation, not the other way around. So the valuation, the marketing price and the valuation, two different things. So the marketing price is there to get us to where we want to be.
On the communication levels that you speak about there, and going back to something you said earlier in the podcast, you imagine someone sold a 3-bed semi in the COVID market, low interest rates, barely any stamp duty to pay, people flooding through houses to buy them, and they sold for over asking price within a day.
Yep.
fast forward 5 or 6 years, and they're now in their 750 grand house, nice big 4-bed detached, let's say. And after a week, they're like, I sold in a week for over asking price with 10 different bids. Yeah. But why is it not happening now? But if you're explaining to them, by the way, I know that your last move was in a crazy market, just to let you know this time round, just to manage expectations, you're in a higher price point, which is more difficult to sell. We're in a higher interest rate environment, more stocks, more competition, and less buyers about. So just want to manage your expectations from the start. Yeah. How many agents in there are over promising and under delivering?
Well, here's the other one, right? So there's a house that I've been out to value and didn't win. It's been on the market for...
Was it Ethel's house?
I still go back to that. Ethel. Yeah. So I would have been at the time the third agent on the house. They've already had 2 on it. I would have been the third. So I've given them my advice, and my advice was that the house is worth less than what they paid for it. And they didn't like hearing that, because ultimately they paid a lot of money for it. And it was a separation. So obviously they both want to come out with a certain amount of money, but it just is where it is. They're still on the market after, I think, 2.5, 3 years. It's had a bit of stint renting, and they're on about the 5th agent, and they've never really called me since. So what we did is looked at what they paid for it in 2021, and they'd significantly overpaid for that property, like probably 5 to 10%. So the 900 that they'd paid should have been more like 810, 820. So what I said to them is that I need to take you back in time a little bit here and show you what the market was doing in 2021. Now, at the time, the market was at a certain level, and they paid, like I said, 10% above that level, the average house price level at that point. We looked at price per square foot at the point, and that's where Dayloft is great, by the way, again, because you can go back. I said, what you should have paid was 810, 820. I know you would never have paid it then, because probably 3 or 4 people wanted it, but you've bought this asset as your family home that you expected to live in for the next 20, 30 years. It's unfortunate that they're in the circumstances that you're in now, that you're separating and you need to sell it, but you've overpaid for the asset. So if we start working out the data based on 2021 values and applying all the inflation that we've had since then, it gets you to what you're on at now, at 1.1 million. But what we need to do is take all this off.
And you're saying the average agent would just do a typical, like, well, this is what they paid for it, this is what the market's done. Yeah. But you're going back in time and saying, you overpaid because you're in a bidding war, interest rates were low, you could borrow loads of money, you had no stamp duty to pay, you got a little bit excited. Yeah.
That's the reality of it. And to be quite honest, I draw on my own experiences. You know, I bought my house.
I've heard you say it before. Yeah,
I paid £35,000 more for my house than I wanted to. And I've since spent the best part of £100,000 doing it up. If I was to sell my house today, it wouldn't be worth
135,000.
It wouldn't be worth
north of the country.
Listen, it's a nice place to live. It wouldn't be worth the money that I've put into it right now. But you choose to live in it, don't you? It's your home. So that's what I was explaining to them. You know, you've overpaid for your dream home. It's unfortunate the circumstances you're in, but when we look at the data back then, it doesn't support what you've paid for it. So we need to take that off. If you want to sell this house, we need to take that off and reassess the value.
And what you've said there is why the average agent is selling 55% of what they list only, because they're not going to want to have that uncomfortable conversation.
Exactly.
Right?
And she was basically on at a price that she wanted to hear, because the next person in said, yeah, it's definitely worth 1.1 million.
Gets the listing, gets paid on it. I think there's another part of that as well that builds into the stats, that when it comes to selling houses is not just about getting under offer. Selling houses is about moving people and making sure that they can actually physically move to the next house. Yeah. And that comes from world-class sales progression as well.
Of course it does. Making
sure that you've either got a really good in-house progressor or a really good outsourced progressor that's going to work with your clients. And experience is key. You can't just give it to the office junior, and or some places will just leave it to the solicitors and go, "Oh, it's not my job."
Yeah, it's not even a junior. It's just people who are sat there also booking viewings and valuations. The last thing they want to do is chase a sale.
And all the experience you have around this table of, you will have that gut feeling where you're like just something doesn't sit right with that person, right? But then also, I think I've heard you guys speak on the podcast before about due diligence, where others in the chain have royally cocked up for not doing things properly. So it's making sure that from start to finish, that's all done.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing, when you're, again, tying up an offer, getting the chain details, making sure that you understand who actually is buying the property, not just first-time buyer, for example, at the bottom. What's the name of the first-time buyer? What solicitor are they using?
You imagine if you thought, I can definitely think of one particular person who actually ended up going to prison for fraud, who I was involved in a chain, and can I take this person's name? And their first name was Malcolm. I won't say their last name because I'll probably get killed by them. But I phoned up to get chain details. Oh, the buyer is Malcolm XYZ.
Yeah.
I rang up the seller and said, we're not getting involved in this. The person's a fucking lunatic.
Yeah.
They're like, it's not a real buyer. He does this once a year. He goes round.
Yeah.
But they'd sold someone else's house, this buyer, who was not a realistic buyer.
You get it. And the thing is as well, you get people on your books that you know, and we've had it before where you take first-time buyer or you take a chain-free buyer at the bottom, but then you've also had a viewing request recently from that chain-free buyer. And you kind of have to ask yourself, well, hang on a minute, what is going on here? But also, it comes down to communication. We talked about it a lot, with the client, but also communicating with solicitors, communicating with other estate agents, having good relationships with other agents. There's another saying, I feel like there's another classic. We need a buzzer every time we say a saying, but collaboration happens at the top. Yeah, competition at the bottom, collaboration at the top. That's a saying. I'll take that one. I made that just up now. But they're working well with other agents. I can see you guys looking at me like.
Do you remember when he started talking about ice cream in one of your episodes?
Oh my God.
And you just went, James, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, but
it didn't make any sense.
It did.
Me and Ian were just looking at each other like,
because you were both vanilla ice creams.
what are you talking about?
Well, you're wearing the same thing.
Exactly.
I think in terms of the collaboration thing as well and giving good advice, particularly from a sales progression point of view, if you have a seller who says, oh yeah, I'm going with this solicitor, and they're dog shit, and having the bollocks to say, just let you know they're a really shit solicitor, I can't recommend enough, you do not go with them because it will take ages.
In a professional manner, of course.
I just like the way I said it. Is that not how you...
There's a reason he's not a estate agent anymore.
So you can't do teach. That's right? No, but you've got to tell them that, the brutal truth there of, look, these are solicitors I recommend, not because I'm getting a referral fee from it, but they're actually, I've got their mobile number. I know I can ring them up and say, John, sort it out. Not someone who's in a call centre somewhere who will respond to an email saying, I'll come back to you in 5 working days.
Again, it goes down to that, transactional and relational part of the market. Transactional at the bottom, relational part. For a relational transaction, you need relational transactions with everyone throughout that process. So even a solicitor, having a relationship with the solicitor and making sure, like you said, you can ring them up, you can WhatsApp them, you email them. They've got you back. So if something does happen or something turns up on a survey or on the title, you can ring them up and go, what on earth is a section 42B or whatever, and be able to articulate that to the client, come up with a solution and collaboratively work together to make sure it moves forward. Yeah. We've had things recently where a random footpath appears on the title of a house. And I won't go too deep down in the rabbit hole because it's a bit of a long, boring story. But the reality is, if that had been a tick box conveyancer dealing with that, it would have been reported to the lender in such a way that the computer says no, and that 750 grand deal at 2% would have gone, and it's not just about me, it's about my client for a start, and them losing the value of their home. The buyer losing their chain, the kids losing their dream home. But because we were able to work with a highly skilled solicitor on both sides, that were both pragmatic in their approach as well, that we could have a conversation about what that looks like and move forward with it. And
we had one recently, it was £1.85 million sale, and it had 2 driveways. It had one that he created when he developed the house, the main one, and one at the back for the horse box entry or whatever it was. And there was a piece of land you had to cross over that he used to own when he developed the whole site, but he'd recently... the piece of land belonged to the house behind, but this house we were selling had access over it. And the solicitor acting for the buyer, who was one of the worst we've ever dealt with.
Do you want to shout them out?
Hadn't checked, didn't know there was a second drive. She thought that was the only drive into the property. And we didn't realise until probably 8 weeks into the sale that she hadn't realised there was a fucking second driveway, even though you could see on the photographs on the listing. And she was absolutely shocking. So having someone that is good at progressing a sale and that can speak to you the right way, and we really steered the buyer away from her solicitor's advice because she was fucking wrong, with what she was saying. So having someone that can do that, we saved this £1.85 million sale for the buyer, for the seller, that a lesser agent that didn't have the time to progress properly. would have lost. So it's massively valuable.
And that's the proofs in
And
the
that's
stats.
where it comes to
and
that.
Again, that's where you articulate those stories in the living room
It is, yeah.
to the clients that, this is what you're paying for. It's not just about getting you on Rightmove. It's not just about nice photos. It's not just about the video and the quality of the marketing.
No.
You're buying my experience and expertise.
Yeah, it's the benefits, isn't it?
Everything.
Explaining the benefits.
Getting you through from start to finish. Now, do you want that 80 to 90% chance of moving, or do you just want to leave it to chance? It's up to you.
Yeah.
The other thing as well to demonstrate to your owners is the cost of change. Because how many people think that this is what they want to achieve on their house, and actually what they need to look at is the overall package.
Destination valuing. Like you said earlier, of that couple divorcing, and it's like, well, I want this price because this is what I need out of the house, or just because it's what you want.
Yeah,
How many times?
People on Rightmove don't go, oh my God, they need £1 million, I'll pay that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like so many times you'll get somebody that is buying a more expensive home and selling their own home, and the cost difference is quite significant. But ultimately, we've got one at the moment where the house is 850,000, and the guy's so caught up on his own value, and we're looking at a potential part exchange. I was trying to say to him, well, you could, the other guy could sell his house for free as long as he can get this one for 350. It doesn't matter. It's just about what does the overall package look like. So again, getting homeowners to look at the bigger picture sometimes enables you to get them to move on to the next chapter.
In terms of that changeover cost, my grandmother sold her house, moved a few years ago, and moved in with my parents. Now, let's say someone was offering less money and her going, well, that's not the price I'm asking. It's like, okay, it's not quite the price you wanted, but the quicker you move in with your daughter and son-in-law, you're no longer paying for that cleaner, for that gardener. How much is that costing you for them to come in every week because you're 90-something years of age? The money you're going to save there, like you're going to make the money back in the move. So it's explaining that.
We always say to sellers, I think it's a Josh Fegan quote, to don't lose it, use it with an offer. So we had one recently where we sold the lady's house for 1.5. She's buying one. She wanted to buy one through another agent. I negged the offer for her. It's on at 850. I rang the agent and said, what would you take? They said, start with an 8. Unbelievable the conversation I had with that agent. So I'll start with an 8.
Say that in your voice.
Can you do your voice?
So I said, I'm confused about what voice I'm doing now. So
Just do
Which
your
voice in my head?
In London.
start with an 8. So I'll start with an 8, start with 800. Anyway, long story short, she would have paid 850 for that house. It was on 850. I got it for 810 just by asking 2 questions of the agent.
Yeah.
And the seller has moved on with more money in her pocket than she thought she was going to have at the start. And at the start, she wanted more than 1.5. It's definitely worth more.
And how many agents will be, and this is like very like American, but they're a sales prevention officer, where at that point, if they're in your shoes, they'd go, oh, they'd never take that, but you've been, as this is really cringe, I'm saying it, a sales enhancement officer, use it, not lose it. Okay, how can we work with that to get to the end goal?
There's just another thing as well on tying up offers. When if you get an offer and it's not quite what they want, you're 10 grand apart, would you stick 870 grand on roulette to try and win another 10?
Oh my good God. He's stolen so many today.
I mean, you've butchered that massively. But
did,
yeah,
he
it
did.
is, but that is a very good line from Tom.
What is the actual line?
The line is, so let's say it's on at 900 and you've got 890. Ian, would you go play roulette now and put 890 on the table to win 10 grand? No, of course you fucking wouldn't. So what are we playing at here? Again, that's how I talk, which is why I'm not an agent anymore.
James Powers.
Right, so we've talked through when you're on the actual valuation, how to use data to get the price right at the start. Then we've talked about not rushing it to market. We've talked about what good marketing looks like. We've talked about the viewing experience. We've then talked about how to actually negotiate deals, not get in the way of it, and actually get it through to the finish line. And I think that is why, as a 3 at the Complete Agent, selling 80% of what you list, 15 days faster, and getting your clients 2.22% more in their back pocket. Is there anything else we need to cover off on that, boys, or is that a good question?
Maybe only one thing I can think of would be about being able to negotiate a buyer up, to the right level, because I think a lot of agents aren't particularly good at negotiating their order taking.
Yeah, actually, So on that, how many? So you phone up and offer on a house now. It's on at £1 million. Hi, someone like to offer 900. Okay, Ian. Right. So if or when that gets rejected, what's the next offer going to be?
Yeah.
But how many agents are going, oh my God, Ian, oh my God, like amazing, right, I can't wait to speak to the seller.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Like already
And
like set the expectations, okay, and what's the next move going to be?
So
9 times out of 10, they're going to reveal, aren't they?
Of course, yeah. So we explain to sellers that's in our marketing plan, and we explain that our first rule of negotiation is that, that we always reject the first offer. And you do get a few smirks sometimes. The right sort of client likes to hear that you're that kind of negotiator. So I think being firm with a buyer is also really, really key. And being confident and firm with them and pushing them as high as you possibly can. If they really, really love the house, they're not going to walk away. They're going to say, no, I'm not going any higher, but they're not going to walk away.
You're protecting their equity.
You're protecting their equity, yeah. So I think being firm with the buyer is very, very important. Explaining to them how, if they're buying a long-term family home, which most of our buyers are, that everything grows over time. So yeah, you can pick up all these major world events in the last 20 years that have affected the market, and maybe it's wobbled a bit, but over time it always grows. And would you really risk losing your dream 25-year home for 30 grand when over time we know it's going to grow way more than that? So it's
just not as an if you're buying an investment flat, in a block,
different.
You want to get it for as little as possible to make sure you maximise the yield. But watching your kids grow up in this home for the next 25 years, choosing their bedrooms, like having a wedding in the garden, in the marquee. Are you going to be worrying about the extra 15, 20, 30 grand that you paid
20
in
years
20
ago.
years' time when you then come to be the next people to sell this house?
Yeah, no, you're not. Boosh.
Love it. Right, what a place when. So that is episode 4, done and dusted in this mini-series of Open the Gate Small Listings meets the complete agent. We have talked through how to get into the higher end of the market, how to use direct mail effectively, how to charge higher fees, and how to get the property sold. Make sure you're following Opening the Gates and the complete agent. Like, review, subscribe, follow, share, and stay tuned for more coming in the future.